Hello and welcome into the Fan Speak Network. I am your host, Justin Bruni. Joining me, as always, is my co-host and partner, Mr. Andrew, the TD King. Rob, happy hump day, sir. We're clocking in for a nice strategy session. How are we feeling today?
Good. Feeling good, buddy. Yeah, ready to talk a little strategy with these stacks. I know you got a nice list for us, maybe a couple others that we can mention as well, but it's very important, as we know, in best ball. You need a stack. Stacking is very important. So it's good to know which ones are a little undervalued, which ones you could go after. Maybe you get sniped on something and you're like, damn, what do I do? Like, how do I pivot? These undervalued ones might be able to be those answers for you as to how to pivot. So let's get into it and see if we can't help the people learn how to pivot and stack. Pivot.
Love it. Love it. Always love a good friends reference.
Also, Mike Raub shaming us because we were what 1 minute
It was,
late.
it was like it was like 2 or 3.
Yeah, shame us.
We got we
Steven,
got we got caught monologuing behind the scenes about life.
our new friend who we've learned is a legend. Steven in the chat. Good evening, everybody.
Evening, Steve. Evening, Mike. Yeah, I mean this show really is going to highlight to you some of the later and mid round value that you can easily grab, whereas you don't have to reach for stacks in the early rounds. You can go after the Jaden Daniels and the Terry McLaurin stack. You're gonna have to pay up for it. No different than absolutely landing any of the Bengals receivers and Joe Burrow. I was in a draft the other day. I saw someone go Jamar Chase in 1. Higgins in round 2, wasn't going to let him get Joe Burrow in round 3, had to pull him off the board. And that's going to happen in your drafts. You're going to see some ebbs and flow to that at the top of the board, but things are really wide open at the bottom of the board. And we're going to be really referencing like receivers beyond round 3 because you are kind of paying up for that early draft capital. So this will mostly be receivers round 4 and later, and same thing with QBs. I think maybe the earliest ADP for QB might be Patrick Mahomes on our list tonight. We have the value guys, the mid round, late round quarterbacks and receivers that you can easily grab. Even if you do want to pay up a round for them, they're going to be available what we'll call for free, because you'll have some liberties to take in rounds 5, 6, 7, 8 if you want to get a little bit tasty, a little bit flavorful, get some spice up in there. So we will be able to see this list, but what we're going to do is expose the list to you guys, the one that we're working off of. It's also in the YouTube show description, so you can see all those listed there. If the chat wants to go ahead and list an option for us as well, we'll get them into our top 10 list. But we'll go through this list itself, and then we will put them on our top 10 ranking list here.
Pause 1 second, Bernie, before we dive into it, because this is important information. Guys, we are 17 subs away from 500. The road to 500 is so close. You can see the end. It's the tunnel's here, and then when we drive through the tunnel, we're going for 1,000. But we are so close to 500. Continue to help us get there so we can do the $500 giveaway where we will be giving away $500 worth of stuff, money, the cocktail playbook, you name it. There's other things I'm sure in there as well, but cannot wait to get to that so we can do the $500 giveaway live stream party as a Fan Speak Network family. So help us get there. So close. So close, Bruni. So close.
Finish line is near. Appreciate everybody doing their part. Smash that like button. Follow Fan Speak Network. Come ride with us. We're here twice a week. We got a ton of content. That's just me and Andrew. We got drafts and content for strategy, best ball all week long. So come ride with us.
Show some, Mike Ross, show some chest hair, and I bet you get to 500 in a week. I mean, listen, I don't know about Tyler and spread. I think you think we've already discussed this at some point because Mike Robb has mentioned this before. But I think I have a little bit more chest hair than you. I think you're a little bit more scruffier on the beard, but I think I got the old chest hair down pat.
It's there, but I think you got me beat.
I got to keep it from coming out over top, if that makes anybody feel weird. If I just slowly start to peak down, you can. I keep it fresh here because it's just weird when it starts popping out over top. I'm 34. I shouldn't have that.
Oh, he did just grab a sub. Holy cow, that worked. Mike, you're right. That's so weird. All right, let's list, and I'll give you first pick. Which one do you want to rank first here?
Yeah, man, just go down. What's up? Doesn't matter.
You have the con here for the receiver list.
Yes, I do. Sorry, my
You
bad
are the
on that.
scroller here in
I
this
forgot.
instance.
It's your thing. I am the scroller. You know what, dude? Let's just go down. Let's just go down. It'll make it easy.
All right.
Start with Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy, Brandon Ayuk. I mean, this is a pretty interesting situation because you're looking for both guys to bounce back. For me, what I see in the tea leaves is Ayuk is absolutely going to stay in San Francisco. He is due $20 million April 1st, right around the corner here. The trade market for Ayuk seems pretty cold right now. Maybe there's some behind the scenes stuff going on, but very little on the rumor mill with Brandon Ayuk potentially being on the move. And we're, less than 2 weeks away from the end of the month where he's going to be owed $20 million. You see the departure of Deebo Samuel, and you look back to 22 and 23 and think what could be for 2025. 11 fantasy points per game in 2022, 13 points per game in 2023. He finished wide receiver 15 and 14 those 2 seasons. Deebo leaving gives a little bit more opportunity to go his way. I know everybody's banging the drum for Ricky Pearsall. I like DeMarcus Robinson as like a last round pick, round 20, but I think there's a good amount of value still left in Brandon Ayuk. Going through the top 10, Purdy was pretty solid last year. He played 9 games, but averaged 18 points per game. The year prior, where he was QB6, he averaged 19 points per game. So he was kind of still on a similar pace to finish where he was a year prior, but only played 9 games last year. I'm thinking somewhere 3 through 5. I mean, this is still an offense that puts up a lot of points.
Yeah, they can, and we obviously there's Juwan Jennings, Ricky Pearsall, as you mentioned. So there's nice options for Purdy, and I expect them to actually probably draft a wide receiver because they're gonna have to fill some voids at some point. Juwan Jennings isn't the answer. They'll have Ricky Pearsall for at least the next few years. I don't know what ends up happening with him. And Brandon Ayuk obviously may not start the year. They may start off a little slow, but again, like we've talked about this, all the money's made at the end of the season in best ball. So when they're up to full strength, I think it's nice value for where they're going. And, unforeseen rookie come in, maybe, they get one that pans out very nicely for them. Obviously, they still have George Kittle, the man, the myth, the legend. So I agree with you. They're probably going to be 4 to 6 for me, somewhere in there. And again, like the nice thing about this is that it doesn't really cost a ton to go get these guys. They have relatively low ADPs. So yeah, I'm going to say somewhere 5 or 6. You pick. I'm cool with either one of those.
I was kind of with you at 4 because I feel like they're still in a really above average offense. And I do think they need a lot of weapons elsewhere on the roster. Like they're losing talent all over the place, including on defense. And they're going to need to solidify themselves on both sides of the ball. So I'm actually believing they're not going to spend early draft capital on a receiver. They could definitely get into some day 2, day 3 action, but I'm not expecting early draft capital on a receiver for the 49ers coming in just off the moves they've made. Like they still have Jacob Cowing there too, who they drafted last year, Ricky Pearsall. They already added DeMarcus Robinson, Juwan Jennings, and Brandon Ayuk. That's a pretty deep group already. And I think you're right. Maybe they do draft a young receiver, but maybe more of like a gadget special teams type of guy that they can develop, like I'm saying, day 2, day 3 type of receiver. I'll go as high as 4, but I'll settle at 5.
Yeah, let's I mean, just kind of looking down here. I mean, obviously, I think the practice is probably going to be good if we kind of go down and look at some of these other ones just off the top of the dome. Yeah, what do we got here? 9. Yeah, you know what? Let's stick them in at 5.
All right, let's stick them in at 5. So we got Purdy, Ayuk at 5.
If everyone wants to see, he is oh, how comes I can't add it to the thing? Oh, we were doing it at the same time. He is adding it to a list that we will then just review. So that is where we are selecting it and putting it. So on the other screen. All right, let's put this one back up. All right. Next one up here, Caleb Williams, Rome Odunze. So ADP 95 for Caleb, ADP 47 for Rome, QB 10 and wide receiver 27 respectively. Round 8-9 for Caleb, round 4-5 for Rome Odunze. I mean, these are your Bears, Bruni. So lead us off. What what is the tempting, with the Williams and Odunze here for you?
Well, I think the value is great. When you're looking at what we were paying for Ayuk and Purdy, scroll up really quick. What round was Purdy?
9-10.
Yeah, so you're paying up a little bit more for Rome Odunze, but you look at like the vacated production available for Rome, 121 targets, about 750 receiving yards, and 7 touchdowns that Keenan Allen put up last year. And this is with Rome Odunze averaging about 7 fantasy points per game in half-point PPR. The vacated production, no real big sexy moves for receiver in free agency so far. I do think that they could spend a draft pick on a receiver, but when you're looking at what they're going to need, maybe they trade like DeAndre Swift to either move up in the draft or they trade him for another like mid-grade receiver. The moves they've made, like Olamide Zaccheaus, not impressive. Devon Duvernay, not really that impressive. Like, I think Rome is going to be really solidified at the top of the depth chart right behind DJ Moore. And you have 2 rookies right here in this stacking opportunity with Caleb and Rome. And I think they build on that, kind of like rookie to sophomore connection. Hey, we're around another year, new regime. You add in the factor of Ben Johnson, and what he did for a young receiver in Jamison Williams. Rome Odunze being used as a deeper threat, a higher, A-dot type of receiver. I think this is all good, ingredients for Rome Odunze in 2025. Caleb Williams already finished as QB 16, in his rookie season. I think most rookie seasons, you're like, wow, you finished as QB 16. That's really good. But this year he had Bo Nix finished as, I think, QB 7. And Jaden Daniels, also a rookie, finished at QB 2, 3. So, I mean, that's really kind of abnormal. I feel like that's not really the norm.
Daniels was 4.
4. Okay, so top 5 still. You had 2 rookies in the top 10, and you had 3 rookies in the top 16. I think that speaks volumes to what we can expect from them in year 2. If he's going up, I mean, they're grading him at QB 10, right? I think easily QB 8 to QB 10 is in his realm of outcomes. And for Rome, I think wide receiver 27 is still a really good value. I could easily see him in like that 14 to 18 range.
Yeah, I mean, and I know during this practice here, we're just doing a combo here, but as Steven brought up, like he said, he has that stack along with Komet a few times, which I was going to bring up. Like that's a nice piece too. If you get Caleb, you can still get Komet really late. And, I know you're a big Komet guy. And if Keenan Allen isn't there, I like Komet a lot more as well, if that's actually what happens here. But Williams and Odunze, I was a big believer in Odunze last year. That hasn't withered away for me. I think that he's going to see more opportunities, now. I think Caleb gets his feet wet last year. Fine. Had some ups and downs. Didn't get Rome the ball a whole lot, whatever the case may be, right? This year, if Allen isn't there, he has a second year, he has a first year under his belt. So now second year in, he's probably going to look for Odunze a little bit more, that sophomore to sophomore connection will probably be, decently strong this year. I expect. I mean, it's nice to have a guy like DJ Moore on the team that's going to draw coverage for a guy like Odunze who can win on a one-on-one scenario. So yeah, I like this a lot because again, like you don't have to pay up really high for Caleb Williams.
Mm-hmm.
It won't kill you. And then Odunze, as wide receiver 27, like I can see him finishing as a wide receiver 2. So I still think you're drafting him below where he can finish. And that's always valuable as well. So when you factor all that in, I think it's right around the Purdy combo here with everything. Plus Williams probably going to scramble a little bit more and run more than Purdy will. So yeah, I mean I would be tempted to put him at 4. I can be talked into 6 or 7 depending on how you feel. You're the Bears insider, so
yeah,
you tell
I mean,
me.
I'm 3 or 4 here.
Okay, then yeah, then I would say probably 4 for me because I do like what they offer, and obviously Ben Johnson coming to town does help them as well. So yeah, let's slot him into 4 for now.
Okay, you can pull that back up if you want really quick.
I mean, I think everyone knows that you're putting it into 4, right? Like
helps with the auto chapters after the fact.
Okay, gotcha. So
You're
far
welcome.
we have Williams, Odunze 4, Purdy, Ayuk 5.
There you go. We can go back to the list here. I also want to say though, like I think if DJ Moore is on the list, this is probably like number one. DJ Moore is a round 3 receiver, and Adunze is round 4, round 5. So if you want to go in with some predisposition, you don't have to be pot committed to one. You can always get Williams after the fact for whichever guy you don't land.
Mike says it's going to be Rome or DJ Moore as the St. Brown role in the offense. I think, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here. I think DJ Moore suits that better than what Rome does. I think Rome should be the downfield guy a little bit more than DJ is.
Mm-hmm.
Agree?
Well, that's the exciting part about DJ Moore is I think he plays a lot more snaps out of the slot this year. That's where Amon-Ra is typically lining up the most in that offense from last year. And so getting him more inside, getting him easier throws, and just like chunk play design routes, right? I think that's going to be more his role this year, maybe a little bit of a lower ADOT. He's been mostly used as a deep threat, but I don't think that you can use Rome Odunze in that way. I think DJ Moore is a better fit, and I think that's the most exciting potential about DJ Moore is that he plays a lot more slot snaps this year and gets back into that like 130, 140 type of target range or share.
Okay. Next up, Jordan Love and the Packers coming with Jaden Reed.
Mm-hmm.
ADP 69 for Jaden Reed, ADP 114 for Jordan Love. Jordan Love, QB 14, Jaden Reed, wide receiver 38. Jordan Love going around 10, 11, Jaden Reed round 6, 7. Mm-hmm. First thing here, I like the value on Love. I do like the round 10, 11 there. I know that they tend to run the ball now that, with Jacobs, they ran the ball a lot, but they were a good offense overall. They get into scoring positions. Now, granted, they give that opportunity to Jacobs a lot, but I think that they may back that down slightly because I do think that they are going to address the wide receiver position in the draft. They have 2 tight ends that could be beneficial to them. They like Kraft, but they drafted Musgrave back in the day to be the guy. That didn't pan out, got injured, whatever the case may be there. So if they implement both those guys in the red zone, I think that opens up the playbook a little bit for them to allow Jordan Love to try to throw it more when they are, within the red zone, and not give Josh Jacobs as much work to try to score touchdowns. So I like that value for Love. Jaden Reed, very up and down guy. Like we see him come out and have these great games, and then he like just disappears for a while. So kind of it's tough for me to like really like Jaden Reed when I know that I think they're going to address that position and also, look at, Wicks and some of those other guys that they have there. It's kind of like a carousel of like, who are they going to try to pop this week at wide receiver? So I don't really love Reed, but I do like Love a whole lot at that value. So, yeah, I mean, how do you feel about these guys?
This one is closer, I think, 7, 8, 9, probably leaning closer to 7 or 8. Just because of what you highlighted, Jordan Love value there, getting him in round 10, round 11. This is a guy that finished as QB5 2 seasons ago. Fantasy points that season were 19 points per game last year, 16 points in 15 games played, excuse me. So you did see that Josh Jacobs effect for sure, stealing more touchdown upside for Jordan Love. But I do think that the passing offense can take a step forward, but I do believe that's with adding a free agent. Maybe they can get involved in like Stephon Diggs, giveaway. I know that Patriots are looking at him. I'm not sure who's going to win that sweepstakes, but I think maybe he could get into that ring. Maybe like an Amari Cooper, an aged veteran maybe, and then a rookie. So I think the situation is going to get even muckier. Jaden Reed still kind of steady Eddie though. Wide receiver 26 last year, 23 the year prior, and pretty similar production, 11 fantasy points per game in 2023. And he dipped last year to 10 points per game, but pretty similar, the kind of weighing off that hot and coldness of his production. I would say I'm settling at 8.
Yeah. Let's throw him at 8. I'm fine with that. Also, Mike Robb just said that Bruni said it was with Christian Watson before you said Reed, right? I think he knows how much you love Christian Watson.
Yeah. Yeah. As much as I like sitting on a cactus.
So funny. Okay. On to the next one. Got some Bo Nix, ADP 89, QB 8, round 8, 9. Cortland Sutton, ADP 54, wide receiver 30, round 5. Definitely like this one more than the Packers one.
Yeah.
Nick's gonna run the ball more than some of these guys that are on this list. Like
Mhm.
that a lot, obviously for best ball and for fantasy in total here. Cortland Sutton, I mean, he's just been steady Eddie, right? Steady for a rookie quarterback last year. And Bo Nix was definitely helpful to Bo Nix last year. I think that we're going to see the same kind of steadiness from Cortland Sutton this year. There's
Mhm.
a hodgepodge of guys behind them. Again, could be a team that addresses that position in the draft, because I think
Mhm.
we do have a decent amount of wide receivers that can come in and make an impact on a team as a 2 or a 3. I don't think this year we have a ton that are like wide receiver 1 right out of the gate potential, but I do
Mhm.
think we have a lot that could be 2 or 3 guys, and where we're going to draft these guys, majority of them are going to be of value to that. So the Bo Nix one to Cortland Sutton, this one's a keeper in my eyes. Now, Bo Nix could take a step back a little bit. We saw him come out and was very good throwing the ball, very good, points per game, stuff like that. I think we could see a slight dip in that. So, like, I don't love the value on Nix, but I like what the offense can give you, the potential with adding some pieces and having Bo Nix probably organically have to run a little bit. Plus, Sutton just in the end zone is money when it comes to touchdowns. So I like this one.
Yeah, Cortland Sutton has 18 touchdowns in the last 2 seasons. So that's pretty much scoring a touchdown every other game through the last 2 years. Bo Nix, like we talked about, finished QB7 and really elevated Cortland Sutton. Not massively, like it was almost about 2 fantasy points per game, but he went from wide receiver 35 in 2023 to wide receiver 13 in 2024. Like I said, 18 total touchdowns the last 2 seasons. I think for me, this is a top 3. I'm thinking like 2 or 3 here. I don't think the cost is that crazy. You're getting Cortland Sutton at wide receiver 30 off a season he just finished wide receiver 13. Even if both of these guys take a dip, they can easily settle anywhere between 13 and 17. Obviously, that's a pretty big fall for Bo. I think you would still believe he'd be on the higher end of that. But like if Bo did fall into QB2 territory, I don't think it would be very far. I think you would agree there. And how much could Cortland Sutton fall in 2025 outside of injury? I mean, the consistency's been there. He was scoring touchdowns with bad quarterback play. He gets the second best quarterback, out of this rookie class coming in from last year. I think it's a good situation. And as much as we can say, hey, Bo Nix can regress, there's just as much of an argument that he can progress and just be the next best thing.
Are we open to moving anybody we've already planted?
No.
Okay. So like 3 for me. I don't know if I like him over the Williams Adunze one. Like I
I
like him.
said three. I said 3 or 4 for Williams Adunze. So I mean, I was
I, yeah. I mean,
better QB and wide receiver finishes in 2024 by miles. By miles. Rome, I think, was like 57 or something like that. He was 49, excuse me, and Cortland Sutton was 13. And Bo, as a rookie, was a top 10 QB versus, Caleb is 16. You're kind of trading hairs with those guys, but the difference, I think, from the established value that you have in Cortland Sutton versus the question mark, like you still are taking a risk, literally drafting Rome Odunze ahead of Cortland Sutton. So I think the 3 spot is warranted.
okay. I mean, yeah, I like it better, but I personally like it better behind the Williams Adunze, slotting him in at 5, moving Purdy and Ayuk back to 6. If you want to put him at 3, I get that because I don't think 6 is appropriate either. So if we're setting in and
I
not moving people, then I
Yeah, I
guess
think
3
I
has
don't
to
think
be.
we can move Purdy and Ayuk off of that spot because we put them like right in the middle, just kind of based off of like the offense. We've seen them both do it. They just got to do it again, type of thing. Like I don't think we could put them any higher. I could see them going lower.
Yeah.
That's cheating. No cheating, Andrew. Smash the like button, share the video, follow the Fanspeak Network. 17 follows away from 500. Let's test it out again. Let's try some chest hair. Let's see if we get a couple of buttons there.
Mike Rob just pointing out Sutton turns 30 this year, if that means anything.
Not for that guy. Not for that guy. I think it could mean that for Brandon Ayuk in a couple of years. I think Brandon Ayuk's got, probably 2 really good seasons left potentially before they're trying to, cut his legs off. Make sure they don't have to pay him.
All right. Next up, Tua Tagovailoa and ADP 140, QB 21, round 12, 13. Jalen Waddle, ADP 57, wide receiver 32, round 5, 6. Bruni, lead us off.
This is a tough one because I do like the value in Tua still. Only played 11 games last year, but still averaged 17 points per game, when healthy. He averaged 16 points per game the year prior when he finished QB9. So I think when healthy, you like what Tua can provide, but man, Tua can't protect himself. And that's where there is risk built into his value. And I think really that's why he's at QB21 is the mindset for most drafters is that this guy's going to get hurt. If he can stay healthy, we saw him actually move the needle a little bit last year. And I think he's a good buy at his value at QB21. He's easily a guy that can finish top 10, top 15. I think probably top 15 is really the range this year, but still, creates an opportunity for value where he's going in round 12, 13. You look at Jalen Waddle and he's the value stacking option here. Tyreek, obviously you're paying up more. And I think that's really the most ideal situation for drafting a stack out of this group. You can get a little bit of later value on Jonnu Smith. Maybe he gets a little bit of a fall. People start to, believe, hey, it is going to be Waddle this year. It is going to be the resurgence of Tyreek Hill. I'm not in on Jalen Waddle this year. Wide receiver 46 last year, wide receiver 34 season prior. This is while still playing a good amount of games. He played 15 games last year, 14 games the year before, 7.5 fantasy points per game last year, 11.5 fantasy points the year prior. And in 2022, yeah, he was the man. He was wide receiver 7 and recorded 13 fantasy points per game. But that was while being ridiculously efficient. He was averaging 18 receiving yards per catch, and he put up 75 catches, 1,400 yards. I don't think that Jalen Waddle is walking through the door anytime soon. So I'm really out on this one. I would say probably 9. I'm not sure where you're feeling on a Waddle resurgence here, but wide receiver 32 right now, when he didn't even put up wide receiver 32 numbers in 2 years ago, when he put up 11 points per game, I'm not that impressed. I'm going to probably pump the brakes on this specific Miami stack.
Yeah, I mean, I still like Waddle because of what he can do with the ball in his hands. If Hill for some reason leaves, Waddle becomes much more valuable in that instance. They have Jonnu. The thing that I think works against them a little bit is that they are a good running scheme team, and they have a guy in Devon Achane and Wright as well in his own respect can really take over a game at some point. So that does hurt Tua and Waddle a little bit. I would probably slot them in. I like it better than the Love and Jaden Reed one personally.
I'm torn. I'm torn because Jaden Reed, though not amazing, has had a steadier baseline than Jalen Waddle in the last 2 seasons.
Yeah,
it's a complete wash at QB for me because realistically they could both have that same range, top 10, top 15 finishing opportunity. And if Josh Jacobs were hurt, then that would go through the roof for Love. He could actually get into the top 5 conversation again. But that's a TBD situation, right? So I would probably have them the spot behind. I would probably have them at 9. I'm okay at 7. I can live with 7 though.
I mean, hold on. Let me just look here. So Baker, Mahomes, Goff, I mean, there's some. That's 3, 1, 2, 3, and then do I convince myself? Yeah,
we still have one coming from the chat too.
Yeah,
I think we're doing not Stroud and Kirk. I think we're doing from the chat.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Slot them in at 9. There's definitely one I like worse than them.
I do too, and I think it might be surprising.
Okay. Next one up. Baker Mayfield, ADP 88, quarterback 7, round 8, 9. Chris Godwin, ADP 58, wide receiver 33, round 5, 6. All right. Slot this in. I mean, come on, Baker. Let's go. Baker getting Evans back. Has Godwin here for the stack. Still has Otten, who is serviceable. Not as good as we probably thought he would potentially be maybe resurgence for Godwin. Who knows? I mean, for Otten. And obviously, he has McMillan as well. So, like, I like Baker a whole lot. Finished as quarterback 5 last year. He drafted him as quarterback 7, so slightly below where he finished last year. Godwin was just absolutely a tear last year before he got hurt. Godwin, because I did, again, pull behind the curtain. I thought Bruni wanted me to bring my own stacks to this. He didn't. So I did some research. Godwin finished as wide receiver 49, but he missed 8 games. He averaged 12.5 points per game in the games that he was healthy. So, I mean, I don't want people to forget about Godwin because he was so good when he was out there. So I like that a lot for Godwin. Like I like this stack a ton because of Baker's not afraid to sling that ball all over the field. So you're getting good value there. And Godwin is a very good wide receiver. I don't think we see really setbacks with the injury at all for Godwin as well. He'll come in healthy. So I like this one a lot, Bruni. You're going to have a hard time talking me out of not putting this as 2. If not,
No, I would say this is 1 or 2. I'm leaning towards 2. The only argument is just that potential, return from injury, what we get from it. But I think that he probably middles production from 2023, where he had 9 fantasy points per game. 2022, he had 11 fantasy points per game. And last year, he had an impeccable 14 fantasy points per game when healthy. The problem is that he doesn't stay healthy. He did finish wide receiver 20 in 2022, wide receiver 30 in 2023, and then wide receiver, you said 49, I had 54, whatever, tomatoes. One of us has standard or half point.
Did you move it to weeks 1 through 17, not 18? Because it gives you 18 right out of the gate. You have to move it to 17.
So maybe that's what it is then. I look at the full scope. Sorry, they played football still.
Just not week 18 for best ball.
That's true. But it still gives you a clearer scope of what they do. Like, obviously there's highs and lows, peaks and valleys of production for everybody. The full scope of the season. No, I'm still good with, like I said, 1 or 2, and that's just really versus the field. Like, you look at Baker Mayfield, like you're saying, QB4 last year, QB10 in 2023, and he really elevated his level of play. 16 fantasy points per game 2 years ago, 22 last season. So definitely like what they're doing down there in Tampa. This is, again, more of the field. I think this stack in itself, looking at the value, especially if you can get a little fall on Godwin in round 6 and then Baker in round 8, that you're cooking with gas there. That's nice.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, I like it as 2, so let's put it in there.
Yep. Just updating the list here. So right now we have Baker, Godwin at 2, Nick Sutton at 3, Williams, Adunze at 4, Purdy, and Ayuk at 5, Love and Reed at 8, Tua and Waddle at 9, Open at 1, 6, 7, 10.
Okay. Next up, Patrick Mahomes, ADP 78, quarterback 6, round 6, 7. Hollywood Brown, ADP 125, wide receiver 59, round 11, 12. Oh boy, tough because we got another wide receiver that was not healthy last year for a majority of it. Yeah, tough. Patrick Mahomes, though, I mean, how many years were we able to draft Patrick Mahomes as QB6, right? Like, is there a resurgence in the pass game?
Not many.
Maybe, right? If Rice comes back and, we don't know what's going to happen with the suspension yet, but Worthy was great. Like, Mahomes has guys. I mean, he still has Kelsey there too for what that is, right?
Oh yeah, they re-signed Juju to another 1-year deal. Guys, yeah. I think he has a guy, and I think he's got like a guy and a half, at least, as far as like receivers go, not including Travis Kelsey, like Worthy and Rice. You've got, someone that could be suspended or, miss some games from just like the league. They could suspend him without any legal action just because he's hit. I think he got caught hitting his girlfriend or choke slamming her was the phrase I saw. Is that right?
Something of that nature, but charges dropped.
No kidding. Imagine that.
Steven says look like 10th. I think he's saying at 125, potentially 10th round.
For Hollywood?
I'm assuming so, yeah.
Maybe. I mean, I wouldn't want to take him in round 10, that's for sure.
Oh, unless he's saying looks like 10th, like the 10th value.
I'm right there with you, Steve. I'm not going to lie. When you look at Patrick Mahomes, yeah, 2022 QB1, but then QB8 in 2023, and then last year QB11. I don't think it's because of him. I think it's because of the way the offense has moved forward and the overall team build for the Chiefs. Like, they've really prioritized defense the last 2 seasons, and that was the identity of their team last year that got them to a Super Bowl. It was the defense. It was not the offense. And the offense was all about death by 1,000 cuts, just 6 yards and out, 5 yards and out, 4 yards and out, and we're going to live there. And then every now and again, we'll run a trick play, an end around reverse, a double handoff with Xavier Worthy throwing, running, catching for a touchdown, something like that on this list. And you look at that value, what you're paying up for Patrick Mahomes, round 6, round 7, when we have other value QBs on this list going at much better value, and they've finished much higher in the quarterback rankings the last 2 seasons. So for me, yeah, it is number 10. I can't. I know that you want to put Bryce Young and Adam Thielen at 10, but it's not happening. I got to go with Mahomes and Brown here.
I mean, so Meg says it's 10 for her too, but Mike Robb does bring up a good point. As the division gets better, the Chiefs probably gonna have to do more on offense. Like I also kind of feel that way a little bit.
Do more on defense? Again, like look at Bo Nix last year. He was a field goal away from beating the Chiefs his rookie season. Finishing QB7, putting up all these numbers, making Cortland Sutton relevant again, make the hat, put that on a hat. I don't know, like one block field goal. And I think you kind of believe or have a little bit of a more confidence in that the Chiefs are going through like a negative change. Like, they're not being aggressive. Like when the Rams traded for Matthew Stafford, they're not that team. They're like, look at what we did the last 3 seasons and we made the Super Bowl. We're going to trust the process, which is building everything out in the draft, a couple of key trades, and building out a really good defense.
Yeah.
Like, they re-signed Hollywood. They re-signed Juju. Like, I can't believe it even happened, to be honest with you.
Do you think the Chiefs address the wide receiver position at all throughout the year and or in the draft?
Lord, I pray. Yes. Like, they should be looking into Stephon Diggs. They should be looking into Amari Cooper. Like, I don't get that, Like, Stephon, you're going to go play for the Patriots? It's cold in Kansas City, too. They have a better quarterback. Like, I'm sure the Patriots will give them more money, but come on, go get some ad revenue from like the car dealerships in Kansas City. I'm sure they'll love to pay out the ass for Stephon Diggs, Amari Cooper.
Mike Robb says Chiefs and Keenan Allen seem like
that,
a good pair.
That would be great too, because again, the whole Caleb and Odunze ranking is really based on Keenan Allen not being a Chicago Bear. Some of these recent moves, I think, really indicate that. Like, I know Devin Duvernay is not going to play a ton of snaps at receiver, but he'll be a special teams guy and he'll come in for a couple of big plays. But Zaccheaus, like, they could use him as like a regular downs type of like 3rd receiver, 4th receiver on the roster. Like, he could play snaps and just not be great. But man, the Chiefs are also just a mess. They could add another couple of weird guys like Hollywood Brown. A lot more excited last year. That this stack would be much higher last year. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. Meg says she wouldn't be surprised if Chiefs take a day 1 or 2 running back in the NFL draft.
Didn't they re-sign Kareem Hunt?
Yes.
They have Hunt and they have Pacheco. And Meg's probably right. They probably do pick up a day 2 or 3 running back and just piss us all off. And they're going to become like the Patriots and just bother us, Not the way that you'd like, where they win every single game.
Yeah, I am the KY. Is that I am the Kentucky? I am the key. It says, yeah, Hunt could have more targets than Brown every week. Chiefs also got Elijah
Mitchell, exactly. Like, this is so mucky. Like, they are so mucky, and just not enough confidence there to say like, oh, like, I really want this stack. Like, I want this combo. A lot of these other guys, you could even talk me into Tua Waddle, because there could be like this resurgence. Like, there could be this big comeback. like you had mentioned, oh, Tyreek Hill gets traded. Yeah, I'm in on it if Tyreek Hill gets traded. Absolutely. The way that they were dividing up the touches last year, you would really want somebody to leave, a trade to be made for Waddle or Tyreek Hill, whichever hill you want to, die on this year.
Yeah. Man, it's still Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Like I have a hard time putting them at 10 just because of what they could do. I mean, we've seen them do it, right? Like it's
I mean,
tough.
even when Hollywood Brown was getting 10 fantasy points per game 3 years ago, that was wide receiver 46. Like I just don't think there's enough juice there. He's the highest receiver for ADP for the Chiefs right now, and that's where he's coming into this conversation. Like there's ye little faith. We had barely any faith in Travis Kelce. I drafted him 30 picks after ADP
wide receiver.
Oh, I'm sorry, but behind Rice and Worthy.
I was gonna say, I was like, wait, what?
Like the value guys. And I mean, like even when you're getting, Worthy or Rice, like those situations, you have no idea what's going to happen. If they add another guy, that's absolutely going to affect Worthy's value. He was very spotty, very up and down last year. Rice could actually miss time via suspension this year. I'm not sure what's going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for this exercise that we're doing, with Hollywood Brown in here, I guess we can put him at 10. But like, Patrick Mahomes is not the 10 guy on this as far as value is concerned in my eyes.
QB 11 last year.
Yeah, and you thought he had a big down year, right?
Oh, it was bad.
I mean, quarterback one, or he's still a QB1, and he had a terrible year.
Yeah, big games.
I mean,
you have some games that hold up the average. That helps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we like those spike week games. Those are good. Anyway, all right. Next one up, Jared Goff, ADP 99, quarterback 11, round 9 and 10. Jameson Williams, ADP 42, round 4-5. I mean, lost the offensive coordinator. Doesn't matter.
No, I'm going to put these guys at 1.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, like, is there like Jared Goff, like the last 3 seasons, QB6, QB7, QB10, and you're getting him at QB11. By the way, the QB10 was 3 years ago. So I really don't understand this. I think he should be much higher. JMO, I think, is actually priced appropriately, but he is that big play guy in that offense. And obviously, you want Goff and Amon-Ra, a very easy stack to pay up for. You can, buy Goff ahead of ADP and get that stack. I think it's valuable enough just based off of what I just mentioned. He's just been consistent, and people still don't believe it. People still don't buy it. They all think that Jared Goff is bad and that Ben Johnson leaving means that Jared Goff is going to be bad again. And I just don't agree with that. Like I said, last 3 seasons, QB6, 7, 10. Last year, put up 19 fantasy points per game. The 2 years prior, he averaged 17 fantasy points per game in back-to-back years. I just don't know what there's not to like about the Detroit Lions offense. They still have one of the best offensive lines in the league. They've got depth running, and they have a ton of misdirection. Like, they promoted from within, so I see a very easy transition from 24 to 25 with the departure of Ben Johnson. Like, this offense just isn't going to get bad overnight. There's still going to be the priorities for, the dogs, Gibbs and Amon-Ra, but Williams and Monty feed off of that, and they finish very well in fantasy. Jameson Williams last year, wide receiver 19, only 12 fantasy points per game. But this was really the first season that we saw him like having an active role in the offense. He can easily build on that in year 2 of being an active role in the offense and put up better numbers, in my opinion. So
yeah, I mean,
number 1 pick for me.
They're definitely not 6 or 7. So yeah, I mean, they're kind of just de facto number 1 here. And I agree with you. Like, I still like Goff.
I think it's warranted. Like, who, like, on this list, like, let's pull up the list. Like,
I still like Baker.
Like Baker, Godwin, I think it's there, but I think, I don't know, the confidence level between Godwin and Williams, I think, is actually a little bit narrower, because I would be betting on a Williams progression this year. And Godwin, I still think he middles out that production from what we've seen through the past 3 years. I don't expect him to put up 14 fantasy points per game. I'm still looking at that progression forward for McMillan. You still have a lot of weapons there. Emergence of Bucky Irving, Rashad White, 3 years ago. Like, I think doesn't look like he's going anywhere. I see him getting kind of like that Tyler Algier role in that offense. And then again, you have Evans still, you have McMillan, you have Kate Otten that, can, do some things when given the opportunity. So still a deeper group. I would still want to give Goff and Williams the edge here.
Okay. I mean, so Williams to me is more of a kind of boom or bust type of guy. Godwin, I think, is the more steady Eddie guy. So I guess, pick your poison on what you'd rather have in a week to week. I feel like where you're taking Williams, you want him to be more steady than just boom bust. Because if he only gets you, in your lineup 5 weeks, because that's the weeks he blows up, that's not really good for where you're drafting him, right? As opposed to Godwin that might be in your lineup every week, but he may not get you those 25-point games that Williams could. So, I choose your fighter there, right? Like I'm okay with Goff at 1. I kind of like the Baker Godwin stacking over the Goff Williams because what it could provide me steadily, week to week. But but they're definitely not 6, so we can't put them down there.
All right, last one.
Yep, last one. We
have 2 left. We'll have this one and then Stroud Kirk. So I kind of think I know how this is going to fall into place here.
It says Williams and Odunze should really be 2 on this list, minimum at 3, says Mike Robb.
I said 3-4. I think that I think Nixon Sutton is still a very good push ahead based off of how Bo Nix and Sean Payton turned around that offense last year. So I will still agree with that, even though it's against my Bears. Tough.
All right. Bryce Young, ADP 148, quarterback 23, round 13-14. Adam Thielen, ADP 162, wide receiver 68, round 14-15. Bruni, you start with this. You know how I feel about Adam Thielen.
I mean, I think it's easily pick 7, right? Like, I don't think we're going to.
It has to be. It's not 6 for me. That's for damn sure.
Well, I just think that it's very fair to put Stroud and Kirk ahead of them. Kirk has to stay healthy. He has to, find his place in the offense, which I don't think should be difficult. They're paying him a lot of money. They converted his contract to a bonus, so they've paid him. So now it's about him showing up and being awesome. I think, we get okay production from both of these guys, but I think, you were asking me the other day about like spike weeks between the two. I think that actually Thielen could have more spike weeks than Kirk. I would almost be, if I'm assuming that both guys are entirely healthy, the full length of the season, I would say that Adam Thielen would probably still score more touchdowns than Christian Kirk this year.
Yeah, well, I mean, so I don't disagree with that only because Christian Kirk coming back from injury, like new offense, like might take time to acclimate in there. So he might start off slow and kind of Adam's going to have that little bit of a head start on him.
And there's guys that are there like Mixon and Schultz and Collins and maybe they had somebody else, whatever. But yes, exactly that. Yes.
Yeah. The thing that, again, we're not considering right now, but I think is a real factor is I think they're going to, again, like this could be a team that adds somebody at wide receiver. Adam Thielen is dusty now. He's just old. It's nothing against him because he's been a very good wide receiver in his career, right? He's been like steady Eddie. Like he's a very good friend to a quarterback. The problem is he's old. He at any time, I mean, Bruni, we're both over 30. We know what it feels like with our bodies at times. Like, that's a real thing for him.
We're not world class athletes, Andrew. Just stop that. Right. I'm just going to let you park it right there. Like we are not. No, like these guys have millions of dollars to maintain their bodies. Like we don't. I'm sorry. Like
he's just on the wrong side of 30. There's more bad that comes after 30 than
but I'm not a world class athlete. All right. I mean,
just like so. The nice thing about these two combo is the price. It's not going to kill you.
It is the price. It is the price, and you get them much later than Love and Reed, Tua and Waddle, and Mahomes and Brown. So really, this stack is something that you're building into another one of these stacks, or you're paying for a top end stack, like Jaden and a Terry, or you're paying up for like Burrow and Chase, or one of the earlier round guys. Hurts, Brown, etc. This stack really allows you to get at least a potential baseline value in the late rounds, just to kind of help you through buys and to kind of again not plummet you to like the those really low scores that somehow barely make it through to advancing, right? Like you don't want to be one of those folks. It could happen, but these guys will help keep you afloat on some down weeks. And believe me, I would love Ted McMillan to go to the Panthers. that would definitely help out my shares of Bryce Young just overall, because he's a very good value. Not very sexy numbers. QB 20 last year, QB 23 the year prior, but he did take a huge step forward in points per game. He had 10 points per game his rookie season and 14 points per game last year. I think that's a good signal for 2025. And when you look at Thielen, yeah, it's not sexy, but he missed 7 games last year, and he was still wide receiver 51. He's going at wide receiver 68. The year prior, when he was fully healthy with Bryce Young still, finished as wide receiver 25, 10 fantasy points per game. I think there's plenty there. There's definitely touchdown upside. He's always been a red zone threat in his career. He doesn't have to do much. He's not going to take brutal hits because of just the way they draw him up. And he's still quick, agile, great route runner, great hands. He's just old. Hey, he's still rostered. Tyler Lockett isn't, all right? Just settle down. There's older dudes that are out there. Amari Cooper doesn't have a job. Stephon Diggs doesn't have a job. Adam Thielen, locked in for 2025. Let's ride Adam Thielen.
Yeah, I like the Bryce Young part of this. I just don't like Adam Thielen. But I mean, at his value, like, if you ask me, do I think he's going to finish 68 or worse? No, I don't. Do I think he probably settles into the 50s? Probably. I mean, I don't think he's going to be up in the 40s personally. They have other guys. People love Jalen Coker, right? Like, I think Xavier Legette is a good wide receiver. Like, I think they're going to add somebody. I think it's going to get muddy for Adam Thielen a little bit. Now, does he play the role? He will be valuable to me, and I can buy into him if I find out that they're like, he's going to be a red zone guy for us. I don't really care what he's doing in between the 20s. If you're telling me we're going to predominantly try to throw it to Adam Thielen in the red zone, touchdowns are king, right? So if that's the case, it's different in my eyes. I just don't know if they're just truly on board with like, yep, we're going to use Adam Thielen in the red zone a lot. Like
higher or lower, wide receiver 40.
Lower.
Wide receiver 50?
I'll take in between there, so I'll take higher than 50.
Okay, so still a massive value at wide receiver 68.
Sure, if he stays healthy the entire time, and for this exercise, for what you just asked me,
the guys ahead of him would have to stay healthy too. Like, health isn't
correct.
Guaranteed to anybody.
But those guys probably aren't, old.
You don't have to be. Injury does not discriminate age. I mean,
It doesn't. That is true, but it gets worse as you get older, for sure.
Sure. You would assume so.
Recovery time, what can happen to you, like definitely a little worse at that point. But yes.
All right. So we do have Stroud and Kirk as the 6 combo here. I'll let you take that one away.
Yeah, I mean, like I brought up Stroud on our episode where we talked about guys that can oh my God, what's the word I'm looking for? Can be better this year. What's the hell the word?
Progress?
No, not progress.
Improve?
Sure, improve. We used the word. We used the word.
Improve are the same thing.
There was a word that we used on our bounce back candidate. Bounce back. I think Stroud's a bounce back. So I like that portion of it.
Both of these guys.
And Kirk, again, like was hurt last year, but before he got hurt, the years prior, like he was very good. He's a good wide receiver. So yeah, like definitely like that better than Thielen Love or Thielen Young. Like that better than Love Reed. Like it better than Tua Waddle, and then again, Mahomes kind of like, I kind of like that there. But yeah, I think it's a fine spot for Stroud and Kirk because Stroud has shown us that he can be a good QB. Kirk has shown us that he can be a good wide receiver. So the tandem combo there of those two, it's going to be interesting to see how they use Kirk a lot. Like, do you think Kirk in this offense for what they have with Nico and Mixon and all those other guys, do you think he serves the purpose better as a outside wide receiver, a slot wide receiver? You think slot? Because Nico plays a slot very well too. So that's why I'm kind of asking, like, is he any better than Nico?
If you're looking at contested catch rate, you're looking at Nico Collins, like a guy that can go up and make a play, beat the guy across from him. I don't think you're going to see that out of Kirk. Kirk's more of a gadget route runner. And when he's at his best, he's at the intermediate or short route level. So I don't see Kirk becoming like a deep threat. Like I don't see him having like a Calvin Ridley level resurgence by any means, where he's just, catching, 140-yard bomb after another. I think that you're looking for him to, provide some experience in some shorter route packages. I still think that they could be in the market for Stephon Diggs, but I also see that this move is a signal away from him But from what we saw last year, they wanted to be deep at that position. Maybe they're pivoting it off of that this year, and I don't know, maybe see a little bit of an uptick for Dalton Schultz.
Yeah, that's potential. I think Kirk could have some nice games if they make him play the outside and Nico's on the inside. If Nico's in the slot and he draws
I
more
think
coverage
Collins
there.
just, yeah, but I think still Collins would just eat up with the presence of another receiver there. Like I would just assume that it's his offense still, and you're just getting spotty Kirk production.
Yeah, it's definitely his offense. I'm just saying that, like, in instances where Nico's going to draw down the safety because he's in the slot and Kirk only has one guy to beat, because Kirk is still decently fast. I would say he's like above average. If he beats his guy, like, Stroud can chuck the ball downfield. So I think Kirk can hold value on the outside because of that.
I think he's appropriately priced in this top 10. That's for sure. Any regrets here? Any regrets?
I would probably take Williams and Odunze over Nick Sutton personally.
Interesting. Yeah, it's so weird that I'm standing on ground here for these Broncos guys. It's a wide receiver 1 versus a wide receiver 2 on their rosters. I mean, that's tough for me.
Understandable. I get that.
I love it. I love Odunze, but I mean, you also get better value out of Cortland Sutton. He goes after Rome Odunze. So you got the value, established role, established production. Of course, I like Williams more than Nick's. I'm a Bears fan, but Nick's top 10 QB as a rookie. What am I supposed to say?
So I got a couple. Again, I came prepared here. I got a couple. I'm just going to ask you. There's 3 here that I just want to get your opinions on. Okay, and then you rank them.
Do not lead off with Herbert and Quentin Johnston, please. Do not lead off with that one.
All right, so you don't want me to lead off with it, but I can definitely bring it up.
Do not lead off with it.
All right, so you just tell me where you would slot them in here, right? So let's lead off with Kyler, okay, quarterback 9, ADP 94 right now, finished as QB 11 last year. And let's go Marvin Harrison Jr., wide receiver 18, ADP 32. So he's towards the end of 3. And again, I didn't realize that you were putting the parameters on this. You didn't let me know. So if that's in here, okay.
That's probably 4. Like you
4?
Probably put him right behind Nixon Sutton, I think.
Okay, because he finished as wide receiver 31 last year, but I think he's going to have a better year this year.
You would assume so, but based on the draft capital, the draft capital, that's, I guess, more of an issue because he is still a 3rd-round pick. Obviously, a 1st-round pick last year. We're getting better value than 2024, but is he still worth that? I think off of projection, you would have him at right after Nick Sutton, but I think there's probably a pretty good argument for him to settle like around Purdy, Ayuk, Stroud, Kirk.
Yeah, like I would, for me, it would be 3 for me here. I just like them better. I like Kyler.
Well, yeah, because Kyler can scoot. I mean, he can scoot better than all these guys on here, and he's got a great rushing floor. And yeah, I mean, like if I'm putting in a 3rd-round receiver, then I'd have DJ Moore in there for Odunze, and that would be probably like 1 or 2.
All right, so next one I'm asking about here is Matt Stafford, quarterback 26, ADP 157, finished as quarterback 19. And then again, I didn't realize you were doing this, so I put in Adams, wide receiver 21, ADP 41, so it fits the parameter.
He can potentially go in round 4, but it's just not happening anymore. And that was really my concern, is that he was going to climb too fast, too soon. This was somebody going in the 5th round, like not that long ago in our big board drafts. So for me, I kept it off the list because he is now a 3rd-round receiver, but I would probably keep it closer to the back end. Like I don't love having to continue to pay. I like the combo. I don't like having to pay up for Devontae Adams now.
Yeah, but what you pay up for Devontae Adams, you get
make up for Stafford. I agree.
Yeah.
I would probably put it around Purdy, Ayuk again, probably right after them.
Okay. I would probably be putting it at 4. I'd be moving down Odunze and Williams and putting it right there just because I love the value on Stafford. I mean,
you do. And what you expect out of that offense is for it to pass the ball a lot. I don't know. I still like Kyron there a lot. Puka, obviously, taken in the top 6, should fall to 9, but whatever. Top 10 guy. Like that's right there with him.
Yep. All right, and then you told me not to lead off with it, but I'm going to ask you because I want to see how much you truly hate.
Right ahead of Mahomes and Brown.
Oh my God, really? Herbert, quarterback 14, ADP
they run the piss out of the ball. They run the piss out of the ball. Like this is Najee's offense now.
And then Quentin Johnston, currently wide receiver 63, ADP 136. Do you know, without looking, where Quentin Johnston finished last year? Weeks 1 to 17. Remember, I'm 117. Do you know
Wide receiver 24.
No, what? Are you
I
fucking?
don't
Come
know.
on. Stop. 42. But he's
That's
going as
terrible.
63.
What were you trying to point out there?
You don't like that, but you like Adam Thielen.
Yes. Adam Thielen finished as wide receiver 51, breathing down his neck with 10 games played. He's old. And he's old.
Quentin Johnston finished as 42, and he's going as 63.
How many points did he average per game?
He had 5 weeks over 10. I wrote that down. Hold on.
Absolutely not.
Wait, where did I see you finish?
And you want to talk about a team that will add a receiver? They're going to add Egbuka. I've said it like I don't know how many times. They're drafting him. I've said it. It's done. It will happen. You can all
hold on. Sorry, Quentin Johnston. He averaged 8.7 because remember games played. He didn't play as many games, or he played more games.
Adam Thielen has always averaged more than that since leaving Minnesota. So last year 10. Last year 11. The year before that 10. I don't know what to tell you. He's a better.
So you like Bryce? Receiver. You like Bryce Young that much more than Justin Herbert?
And I think they're pretty even the way that they're passing the ball now with the Chargers. I mean, I think
you heard probably it here first,
me. I think I could be talked into targeting Egbuka and Herbert way more and just banking on that to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I like the Chargers offense a lot more than I do the Panthers offense.
Receiver. And you already know they got Mike Williams. Obviously, he's the value to go get. Last round in Herbert.
Right.
I'm just kidding. You get them both. I know you get them both.
Yeah, I mean, might as well, right? Might as well.
And what if they added Keenan Allen? They added Mike Robb's in here talking about adding one toxic X. What if they say, hey, we'll get another toxic X in Keenan Allen? Then what do you think of Quentin Johnston?
I mean, I like him less, obviously, at that point, but
Lord, I'd hope.
Yeah, I would. I mean, I'm not like in love with Quentin Johnston. I just think Quentin Johnston's a little undervalued.
I thought you were going to get me with like some gotcha moment, like, oh, he's actually like a top 20 receiver. Like, what the fuck?
I was curious if you knew because you hate on him so much. I was wondering how much you look into the hate.
How much I look into it. I shouldn't need to. Again, he'll probably finish around his ranking potentially. Adam Thielen will finish well ahead of his ranking. So just stop it. I know you wanted them at 10.
Don't forget Quentin Johnston. No more Palmer.
Oh.
And Mike Williams. You talk about a guy
LeBron
healthy.
Like, oh no. Barely used Palmer. It's ridiculous. Absolutely criminal. Do we have more than 20 likes? Can we do a draft?
I don't think we do.
Well, I told the chat earlier.
No, we got 12.
Guys are slacking.
I mean, you got to stick to the guns. Got to get the people in.
I know. If you guys can just smash the like button really quick and get us to 20, I think Andrew will still do it. But
I think when these other contests open, you can probably talk me into it a little bit and not getting to 20. But you know how I feel about big board.
Yeah, it's not your jam. It's not your jelly. Yeah, with that, then we will head out for the evening. Appreciate everybody riding along with us. Again, be sure to smash the like button, follow the FanSpeak Network. We're here for you all week, every week. Doesn't matter what month we're in, where we're at in the calendar. We're talking best ball. We're drafting fantasy football teams. Andrew, anything to share before we head on out?
No, just keep coming back, and we have shows every day for you. Sure, I think Meg and Steve back with a draft again tomorrow. Yeah, I mean, just keep on coming back. We appreciate every one of you guys. And again, help us get to 500 so we can give you guys some money, some prizes. Will be a fun time. Again, greatly appreciate every single one of you. Bruni, send us out, brother.
Appreciate you all. Again, smash that like button. Thanks. Take care. Be well. Be good. If you can't be good at it. We'll see you guys.